What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Too Cool Reviews, and today we're talking about Stranger Things Season 3. Now, normally I would have reviewed the first two seasons prior to reviewing this one, but I want to go back and rewatch those before doing videos for those, so I'll have to do those videos at a later date. Plus, I really just wanted to go ahead and talk about Season 3. Stranger Things is written and directed by the Duffer Brothers, and it's one of the most successful original shows on Netflix. So I'll be letting you guys know what I thought was good, what was bad, and what I would rate the season overall as a whole. So let's kick things off by breaking down what was good. The characters, mostly. One of the best things about Stranger Things, aside from the 80s nostalgia, is the characters, and they continue to build up on that in this season. We get a couple of nice new additions, with the standouts being Robin, Erica, and Alexei. I really liked the chemistry that Robin and Erica had with Dustin and Steve, and I thought their subplot was the most entertaining this season. Erica was flat out hilarious, and I feel like she really benefited from a lot more screen time this season than what we saw her get in previous seasons. I really like what they chose to do with Robin's character as well, where in most shows she would have been a stereotypical, cliche love interest for Steve. Here they kind of flip that dynamic on its head and do something completely different with that, and I really enjoyed that aspect and where they went with that. I also thought Alexei was a fun addition to the show, although I was a bit disappointed with how things ended for his character. I also really enjoyed the different things they played with this season, for example, like girls versus boys, guys versus women, and things like that, and also exploring the concept of people growing and moving past things that make us uncomfortable, such as change and things like that. I really like the scenes where Mike and Lucas were at odds with Max and Eleven, and they kind of having that back and forth thing going about boys versus girls, and most of it was based in misunderstandings, but they do a really good job of showing how confusing relationships can be, especially that early in life. And we also get a bit of social commentary on how things are in the workplace when it comes to men and women, where Nancy, her and Jonathan, they both work at the newspaper this time, and it's a very male-driven career field, and she is finding it hard to fit in, and she's struggling with dealing with the fact that she's not being taken seriously because she's a female. And I know a lot of people can relate to that nowadays, and those kind of things are being fought against nowadays, and they didn't hammer it home or nail you over the head with it, but they did subtly address it in this season. The relationship between Steve and Dustin is also one of the things I really enjoyed this season, and they started it in the second season, and they continue to build up on that here, where Steve, he's kind of in an odd spot where he used to be this cool guy, but now he's stuck working at an ice cream shop for the summer. He doesn't have any plans to go to college, and his main friends are little kids, and Robin kind of makes fun of him for that, but I thought it really worked for his character, and he continues to grow in a different direction, where he was introduced as one thing and he's kind of grown into something completely different, and he's still not quite the finished product that he's looking to be. Will kind of gets the short end of the stick in this season, but they do a good job of using him as an example of how hard things can be to accept change, like when your friends are moving on to more mature things and you kind of just want to stay where things are. So he's still into the Dungeon and Dragon aspect of things, but everyone else is more into girls, even Dustin. He spends a lot of the runtime trying to connect with her over the radio, so even he's moving on in that direction, and Will is kind of the standout in that regard. And they also show Harbour kind of dealing with something similar, where he struggles with the idea of letting Eleven become a teenager and having to let her go, and you can't continue to treat her like a child and shelter her the way he's used to. And he's really having a hard time coping with her and Mike's relationship. We also get a better understanding of Billy as a character this season. In season 2, at face value, he was introduced just as kind of an antagonist and a bully flat out. But in this season, you get to see more of what caused him to be that way, and you understand that he doesn't really want to be that way at his core. And I thought that made his character a lot more human, and he does get redeemed in the end of this season. We also get a nod to the Terminator in this season, and I know a lot of people kind of felt it was on the nose and it rubbed them the wrong way, but I thought it was entertaining. I don't feel like they went too far in either direction with that, and I immediately recognized it, and I thought it was fun for what it was. Plus, we get a few really good action scenes with him, and in the first one, he really beats the hell out of Hopper, so that was entertaining. Now, while I definitely enjoyed a lot of what this season had to offer, it definitely had its flaws, and we'll break down some of the things that didn't work this season. The constant back and forth and bickering between Hopper and Joyce this season was terrible, and that got old super fast. That was super annoying, and it really starts to grate on you the more they kind of continue to go back and forth to it. And they have Murray address it similar to how he addressed the situation with Nancy and Jonathan in season 2, but that doesn't really excuse it, and they continue to do it even beyond that, and he has to address it again. It really felt lazy and kind of tacked on, and it kind of felt like they didn't have anything else to do with those characters this season, so we kind of shoehorned in this romantic subplot, but it just really wasn't well done in this season. Another thing that didn't work about this season for me was the whole Russian subplot. While it's mostly played for laughs, ultimately it just felt like nothing really happened with it all. They're doing a similar experiment that we saw the US government doing, where they're opening portals to the upside down, but the Russians, they really only managed to open a crack in the wall, and they shoot this beam at the wall the whole season, but they never managed to open more than a crack in the wall. Nothing comes out, no one's going in, and ultimately that's the plot for the season for Harbour and Joyce. All we have to shut this machine down, and it really just kind of felt nonsensical. It didn't do anything. They didn't really go anywhere with it, and hopefully they explore different things in the next season, because I feel like they've kind of maxed out on what they can do with the upside down in this season. The last thing I really found disappointing this season was that the horror aspects were toned down a lot. We get more gore this season, but the monsters and the settings, none of it really felt intimidating or, dreadful or anything like that. They just kind of were just happening. Like the monster, we get some cool scenes where Eleven is, showing her powers and throwing, people and things through the walls and out of the window, but you never really feel scared because, she's there, she can deal with it. So I felt like they really kind of pulled back on building suspense and horror this season, and I feel like we could have benefited a little more from that to kind of balance out a lot of the humor that we got this season. Overall, I think while there was a lot to enjoy this season, we get a lot of great character development, a lot of great character dialogue and comedic moments, I just feel like the overall plot of the season just kind of felt inconsequential. Even though we got some character deaths and, there were ramifications beyond that, it just felt empty. It's hard to kind of articulate what I mean by that, but it just really came away feeling like a whole lot of nothing happened. Like I said, it was funny. You got a lot of funny moments. You get a great little nod to the never-ending story, but even that kind of felt out of place, and I felt like Harbour in other seasons would have addressed that differently than what we got to see him do here. But to be fair, this was a shortened season. Previous seasons were 13 episodes, and this season was only 8, so that could play a role in why things kind of felt off a little bit. I'm going to give Stranger Things Season 3 a 7 out of 10. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments, and where would you rank this one among the other seasons of Stranger Things. Also, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram if you ever want to suggest movies for me to watch, or you just want to kind of catch up and keep up with what I'm doing and what I have going on outside of YouTube. You can follow me there at 2 Cool Reviews. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.